Warm salutations from Sovereign Self. The truth is the same no matter under what name it is taught or who teaches it. Strip it of the personal coloring of the teacher, and it is seen to be the same, the truth. And the truth is that before a man attempts to solve the secrets of the universe without, he should master the universe within the kingdom of the self. In the superconscious regions of the mind lie the seeds and germs of future senses and reasoning powers, latent, awaiting the call of unfoldment. And from that region comes all that is best, and highest, and greatest in our mental activities today. And by recognizing this fact, and by opening up the mind toward this higher self, we invite and make welcome these messages from above, and encourage their coming. And thus do we grow and unfold. This channel, Sovereign Self, teaches the brotherhood of man, as well as the fatherhood of God, or the Absolute. And it provides practical instruction in self-mastery, personal unfoldment, and the realization of true selfhood, so that you can play well your role in the constructive evolvement of the race and of all life. All the universe is alive. The manifest cosmos is conscious substance in motion. And in this manifestation, thought is a force that penetrates people's bodies and everyday affairs. But the unfortunate fact is that very few people know how to truly concentrate. With the larger part of humanity, thoughts seek a distraction where no mental effort is required. Correspondingly, while the will to do is the greatest power in the world with respect to human accomplishment, the typical employment of willpower is very weak. The lives of all of us have been molded largely by induction through suggestion. Environmental factors compound this situation. Consider the environment in which nearly all of us live. Life keeps speeding up. Distractions increasingly grip our attention. We live in an environment of anger that is felt and expressed all over the globe. Moreover, life's mounting layers of complexity envelop us. Solutions to social problems that impact our lives create new problems. The lines between truth and falsity, and between reality and unreality, blur. Normal daily activities easily turn into emotional minefields. Emotions work faster than thoughts, and the stress levels are on the rise. Our senses dull from overstimulation, and our wills flounder alongside a shifting, multitasked focus, and alongside all habit-driven mental and physical activities. What is more, about this same environment stands the grave fact that those who perch themselves in large at the top of the social pyramid are of the darkest and most abominable sort. From their lofty positions of affluence and of influence over human affairs large and small, they set into motion powerful, devilish forces that would devolve each human being and the race in whole, hijacking and enslaving human consciousness toward its most ignorant and most deplorable levels. If each of us does not control our own shares of universal consciousness, and do not accordingly rise to the perception, realization, and even the manifestation of the sovereign self, then they will continue to enslave and control it instead, and will blot out to the point of seeming impossibility such perception, realization, and manifestation. These deplorable beings go about their affairs such that their eventual fates in a low subplane of the great astral plane of manifestation could be described by you as follows, if you could but visit and see what would remain of them there in that charnel house of the astral, the tomb of the earth. What manner of place is this I see? It hath no water, it hath no air, it hath no light, it hath no foundation. It is unfathomably deep. It is as black as the blackest night, this Golgotha of the astral. Here there appears to be a sense of density and gross materiality which is indescribably loathsome, causing the sense of pushing through some black viscous fluid, while at the same time the inhabitants and influences encountered here are unusually undesirable. These denizens of this loathsome place, these inhabitants of this horrible hellish abode, are here because of their own abnormal desires and tendencies, which unfit them for the planes of even the lowest of disembodied human entities, and which also rendered them unfit for association with even the disembodied astral forms of the beasts. and still subject to the laws of mankind. They are not allowed the privilege of rapid annihilation bestowed upon the beasts. They must live out their peculiar life to the end. They are the pariahs, the ghoul-like scum of the human race, who have removed themselves from the race fate and have entailed upon themselves a fate of their own. Their fate is a living death, a conscious life in a corpse-like body, among corpses of the astral. These creatures are the disembodied entities of those who degenerated despicably, who attempted to reverse the cosmic laws, and thus brought upon themselves the recoil of the life forces. They were the lowest instantiations of humanity, which in every way that they could sought to suck the life from the rest. Nature finally casts over them the spell of a deep sleep, from which they never awaken, and from which they pass into annihilation. For they polluted the sacred altar. They stole the divine fire for devilish rites. They removed themselves from the trend of cosmic evolution, and became a corruption, an abomination, an infestation in the manifestation of life. Their own desire was their fate. Such is the most likely eventual fate of those who darkly plot and toil to parasitically and predator-like hijack human consciousness and vital energy for their own pathetic sustenance, and often lavish survival on this beautiful planet where the rest of us strive to evolve. Now, we have laid out the picture of the untrained mind and of its owner's often antagonistic environment, and of his ability, or shall we say near inability, to achieve and evolve. If a person wants to rise above all these laid out circumstances, he must do something. Human evolution itself demands it. So what is the solution? How do we circumvent the circumstances? There is a something within each person that is the king and master of all the remaining portions of his being. Call this the soul, the will, the ego, or whatnot. The fact remains that this part of the self is sovereign, and it is dominant. The real self is not the body or even the mind of man. And in the measure that this sovereign manifests its power, so is the degree of individuality. The majority of people do not realize that they have this sovereign self within them, and so yield themselves, without resistance, to environment and outward influences. This something is striving to unfold further and further into your conscious life, and you may aid it by bidding it welcome and treating it as a part of yourself instead of as an alien. It is yourself, so do not shut the door of your mind to it. That which is the real self or real ego of man is the divine spark sent forth from the sacred flame. The individual is but a center of consciousness and force in the great life principle, cosmic will, or spirit. Each ego is a center of consciousness in this great ocean of life, and while apparently separate and distinct, is yet really in touch with the whole, and with every apparent part. Egohood is the state of realization of the ego, the perception and realization of the I am. Egohood is evolved and earned, not given as a universal birthright or general natural right of the race. Many fail to reach egohood. Many personalities are born, but few egos are evolved. The world is tiring of hypocrisy and dishonesty in all human relations, and is crying aloud to be led back some way to truth and honesty in thought and action. But it does not see the way out. And it will not see the way out until the race mind unfolds still further. And the pain of the new unfoldment is stirring the race to its depths. From the deep recesses of the race mind are rising to the surface old passions, and all sorts of ugly mental relics of the past, and they will continue to rise and to show themselves until at last the bubbling pot will begin to quiet down, and then will come a new peace. And the best will come to the surface, the essence of all the experiences of the race. Look for the flower to bloom in the silence that follows the storm, and not until then. Not until the entire personality of the man is dissolved and melted not until it is held by the divine fragment which has created it, not until the whole nature has yielded and becomes subject to its higher self, can the bloom open. Then will come a calm such as comes in a tropical country after the heavy rain, and in the dead silence will occur that which will prove that the war has been found. Call it by whatever name you will. It is a voice that speaks where there is none to speak. It is a messenger that comes without form or substance, or it is the flower of the soul that has opened. It cannot be described by any metaphor, but it can be felt after, looked for, and desired, even among the raging of the storm. The silence may last a moment of time, or it may last 1,000 years, but it too will end. Yet you will carry its strength with you. Again and again the battle must be fought, and the battle must be won. It is only for an interval that nature can be still. In the center of life shalt thou indeed find poise and power. In the heart of the storm shalt thou find peace. He who finds the center of himself finds the center of the cosmos, for at last they are one. During the struggle ahead of the race, play well your part. Be not deluded by appearances, nor follow after strange prophets. Those who have entered into even a partial understanding and recognition of the one life underlying will find that they will be as the chosen people during the changes that are coming to the race. They have attained that which the race is reaching toward in pain and travail. They will be the leaven that is to lighten the great mass of the race in the new dispensation, not by deed, nor by action, but by thought. The thought is even now at work, and all who read or hear these words are playing a part in the work, although they may not know it. There is but one life, not many lives. Separateness is but relative and partially illusory. The creative fiction of the cosmos. In the cosmic will there is but one life in which and by which is manifested the many. When this truth of the one life underlying gradually dawns upon the race, this new consciousness, then will things take their proper places, and the lion and the lamb lie down together in peace. That's the thought. And the mental pattern must always precede the material form. He who practices the teachings contained herein will place himself well upon the road to attainment, and the further truth will come to him as he progresses. Such is the law of the path of attainment. When one acquires the knack of it, there is manifested the phenomenon of the sovereign self mounting its mental throne and asserting its right and might to govern. Then does man become the master of himself, instead of being a slave to circumstance and environment, and to the antagonistic, parasitic, predatory influence of others. In the realization, recognition, and manifestation of this within us lies the secret, the answer, the solution, the mastery of self by self. The fundamental principle underlying all ideas in the sovereign self channel is that there exists an infinite and eternal spiritual principle of being, and man is an expression, emanation, or manifestation of the one principle of being, and that principle must be immanent in him, just as he is contained within it, limited only by his own limitations of power and ability to express it. Here you will learn how to apply reason, desire, will, prana or vril, concentration, and imagination to 7 cosmic laws: orderly trend, analogy, sequence, rhythm, balance, cyclicity, and the law of opposites, to effect the great transmutation in the human domain of conscious substance in motion. Why not apply the practical teachings here in the sovereign self channel in your everyday life, just as others have done with these same teachings? You too can more fully, calmly, and confidently take your places in the great cosmic scheme, and in it play well your parts. You can never tell what you can do until you try. This passage was created and narrated April 3rd, 2017, by me, the channel's creator, using my own words as well as those extracted and edited from selected written works by William Walker Atkinson, to whom I owe utmost appreciation for the inspiration of its entirety. Subscribe, like, share, and be well.